I built a beautiful Rome-inspired city in the hills right here. Been looking for a successor for the 2000 super hit Zeus Master of Olympus for quite some time now. This isn't that, but well worth taking a look at nonetheless. Nova Roma is another survival management simulator developed by the geniuses behind Kingdoms and Castles. While the art style is obviously more Roman here, it's still very similar. Still has that cartoony high contrast look to it. Lion Shield teamed up with Hooded Horse to publish the game this time, another good sign. I can't actually remember Hooded Horse's last published game that I didn't enjoy. The main features include a fully modeled fluid system as well as deformable environments, allowing you to build both dams as well as gullies. This will allow you to bend water and nature to your will, while the ancient gods try to bend your will to theirs. I will of course show you the fluid system and the dam building at the very end of this video, so you'll have to watch the whole thing, of course. The setup is quite simple. Rome has fallen and we've taken off to undiscovered lands to build a society larger than the last, together with a collection of misfits. Reminds me of Twitch chat during my live streams, a bunch of misfits who expected better. Map generation looks pretty interesting and diverse as well. Not much similarities in between these maps. The replayability for these looks pretty promising. It's suggested to build our outpost close to fertile ground, downstream of a river with trees and stone close by. My map is generated in a way where this is impossible, unfortunately. We decide to build our outpost close to the river, and hopefully a stone outpost will be enough once we get to it. Thank you, developers, for the option to invert zoom. This is missing in too many games. Clearing resources. To begin with, we can build some roads. I like T-shapes and houses. In the beginning, we can only provide farms to grow food. As you would expect, this will grow as the game goes on. On a regular basis, we are visited by these settler ships. I often prefer organic growth in settlement survival games, the banished version, where population growth is limited by housing and happiness instead. It seems these systems are being phased out in favor of the, to me, more rigid mechanics of new survivors just kinda arriving in waves. Do apologize if my voice changed a little bit here. I'm having a bit of a sore throat and I just got myself some cough drops, so my apologies. Once you build your first temple, you are introduced to the demo's 4 included gods. There is also some unavailable gods here, both named and unnamed. This Zeus-looking guy is Jupiter. He will provide a buff for our settlement's happiness score. Seems like a good first choice. With the first god selected, we are also introduced to the technology tree. While not vast in the demo, there's a good amount of connectivity in between these paths and seem to already give multiple ways to progress. You can have a focus on city services, food production, or resource production, each branching into each other or into new branches like the dam and aqueduct building options. With our first few points, we can unlock the forester and the granary. I like that they allow you to unlock whatever you want, and I don't see any reason why you could select the wrong technology here either. No tutorial forcing you to go down any particular path. Forester will do forester things. I built it on the other side of the river. Let's see how the settlers handle crossing the river. There is roads and bridges available in the game, but I can't afford a bridge just yet, so it appears that villagers will actually travel through the river, but at a significantly reduced speed. There's also seasons in the game. They do go past extremely fast, and I have limited impact on my actual experience. The demo only allows you to play the easy difficulty, so this might be dialed up for harder difficulties, as well as the custom options that's available. Selecting our second god, we go for Xerxes. Xerxes boosts our agricultural production through our farms. While the bonuses themselves are not super exciting, the game's divine tasks is how you actually gain points for the tech tree. So having multiple of these gods actually helps you progress faster. By building our second temple, we fulfilled the Jupiter's first task. We can now unlock grape wines as well as small apartments. Apartments gives more space for villagers, housing 12 instead of the 5 who fit in a standard home. Building the stone quarry is a bit complicated as we have no stone close by. All our stone has come from small deposits spread around the map. The stone quarry can only be built next to specific boulders on the map, all of which is on the other side of the mountain. You can't build outside of road range either, so we'll have to drag a road over there as well. Villagers will also travel faster on roads, so that's a bonus. With stone produced, we can build the charcoal maker. This will improve the fuel use during cold winters. Instead of using wood, we can now use charcoal to keep warm. Important to keep this away from where people live. The pollution is not appreciated around villagers' homes. What you can provide in produce, resources and services to citizens determines their happiness. Our next step is to start mining clay to make pottery in the future. I didn't think about it at this point, but clay can be built anywhere, and I put mine in prime fertile lands. I should have kept this for farms and grapevines, but hindsight is 2020 after all. The stone area will continuously complain about being hungry. I'm not really sure what should be done to improve this, but on easy mode it doesn't seem like it's a large issue. Each apartment have 2 workers responsible to actually supply the house with resources. I guess since we haven't yet built up a storage of grapes, we're unable to keep up with only grains due to the small storage of only 6 items being stored in each house and there being 12 inhabitants. I'm guessing if you deliver grapes and fish as well, the drain on the grain... Wow, there's a lot of rhyming here. Grape, drain, grain, rain... I can't do it, okay? Well, if we get some grapes or some fish here, it should split up the drain of grains evenly, right? I think that's how it works. Hopefully this should make life a little bit easier for the deliverers that's actually providing resources for each house. To help with this, we will start building a fishing hut. Hopefully that will help. I eventually decided to build another granary, as I don't actually see any improvements from the fishing hut and the grapes being produced. Even with 60 grains in the storage, I get complaints that the villagers are hungry. But honestly, didn't see much difference from this either. I'm probably missing something here, but I'm not sure if you can transport resources from one granary to another. Maybe you're supposed to build independent, self-contained small outposts with their own resources everywhere? Then again, by the end of my playthrough, I was able to provide food here. Still think it has to do with the diversity of resources, but I'm not sure. Would love for this to be a bit clearer what the workers actually does in the description of the building. It makes it sound like it's a passive building. Stores food. Farmers bring food here to store after each harvest. Food that can't be stored by the end of winter is lost. 2 things here. First, explaining farms in the description of granaries seems really backwards and not very intuitive. The fact that the information is available under the farm's descriptions means this is just redundant. Secondly, this explains the building's purpose but doesn't actually explain what the worker is doing. If farmers bring the food into the granary, what does the granary worker do? Twiddle his thumbs? Count grain? Sounds like a worker is added just to add a worker. No real purpose is given. After some time has passed, we still do not have any resources in the granary, and people are still hungry, despite plenty of storage in the main town. Clicking on the granary, we can see what the worker is doing. The white line is indicating the worker is at home, sleeping. I would love to be a granary worker when I grow up. With our solution, we move on. There's no individual building priority other than turning a building completely on and off. Instead, we have this list of job priorities where you can specify the amount of people assigned to each building and also the order in which job will be prioritized. It's simple but very functional. No game is complete without action combat, so Jupiter tells us invaders are approaching and we can fight them off. We can hire a militia at the outpost. The enemies does a sort of hit and run thing, burning our storehouse for stone and then runs for the hills. We're only able to catch them on their way out, but do make sure they pay dearly. While editing, I noticed the attack bonuses. Initially the combat felt pretty lackluster, but taking into account flanking, heights and whatever other advantages there might be, the combat might have more depth than I initially realized. The food issues at the stone outpost continues. It appears the workers are only able to keep up with the wood. The house on the hill, on the other hand, has all the needed resources somehow. I eventually just end up demolishing the flawed house with no food in it. adding new apartments on top of the hill instead. Adding more stone production seems good, considering we're constantly out. Until you realize we're also out of workers and I'm just making the issue worse. Doesn't help that people decided to live in the main town instead of my newly built housing complex on the hill. On a good note, the new housing brought space for enough people to reach the small village trigger. Seems pretty accurate. Next up, we build a temple for Vulcan. He will improve production from our coal makers as well as upcoming pottery production. I will move the charcoal maker closer to the temple a little bit later. We're still very low on stone. While people are no longer complaining about food, the stone workers are now complaining about the commute to work. Again, I'm dumbfounded, and I can't figure out what's making them complain. Taking a closer look, the complaints comes from people living in the main city, despite there being available living space closer to work. I guess they just haven't been able to move around yet to live closer to their workplaces. Should solve itself in time. Another service we can provide for our citizen is a forum. This is where they will be able to gather and socialize. They're pretty expensive when it comes to the stone and makes a solid dent in the hill. This looks ridiculous, but no terrain alterations in the demo and I can't really do much to solve this. You can look at the approval of gods at any point, clicking on this little lightning bolt in the bottom left hand side. Usually it tells you about the divine tasks they would like you to pursue. Mine is a bit less enthusiastic. It doesn't explain it, but this is because all of my citizens are working on building the forum right now and the gods are displeased that nobody is staffing all of the different temples around town. Temporary issue, but good to keep in mind. If low on wood or stone, an easy way to get a temporary boost is to clear the land containing your needed resources. With this stone we can build the Undertaker and a cemetery, so people have places to sleep when life gets past its prime. There's a small selection of cemeteries. No difference to my knowledge other than visuals, but still appreciated variety. We build a cemetery outside of town. People doesn't like living close to cemeteries. This is weird to me. Is this weird to you as well? In my hometown we had a church and a cemetery in the heart of the city. While games often do this, I've never felt it's being an issue living next to or close to a cemetery. What's your guys' opinions on this? Fire breaks out occasionally. I realized quickly that I never built a fire station in the hills. But look, this fire engine is from the town and will assist with the fire outside of its actual territory. Well worth the update in the tech tree. It's about time we make this Vulcan temple do some work for us. Moving the charcoal and pottery production should increase their production without any extra cost. I haven't shown you much of the tech tree so far, but we're making steady progress. Almost all but the most interesting parts unlocked. Aqueducts have limited usage in the demo, but does display fluid systems really well, especially when combined with the dams. I built a bath reservoir, not knowing what it's used for. We will have to move this later. Not sure if the gods are unhappy with this, or maybe houses just burn regardless. It's winter, but I guess that doesn't help. To build something I do know what we'll use it for, we will build a water tower. I guess I never mentioned that houses want to have water from a well. Believe it or not, the water tower is just a well with better range. Building the aqueduct, on the other hand, is wildly expensive on stone, so we'll have to wait. Hopefully the citizens will survive a few days without water. Before long we have stone available for the aqueducts. Water is on the way. Building the water tower on the hills really shows how big the area is for these watchtowers. We can build the water tower in the woods, far from the living areas, without leaving out any of the houses in the coverage. And now we're learning why dams are important as well. The intake complains it doesn't actually have enough water despite being in the middle of the river. It is, in fact, intended to build these in the reservoir of a dam. The dam construction is super cool, simulating the fluid flow as you build your dam. There's no impact on the environment as it's only a simulation and won't actually affect anything that you build or flood during the simulation. This will only take effect as soon as you actually build the construction itself. We have two pieces to play around with here, blocks as well as spillways. Maybe dam blocks is the right word to use. If you're unfamiliar with dam construction, you should watch Real Engineering instead. All I can tell you is spillways is letting water through, and dam blocks blocks water. Easy. If I knew about the dam building options, I Might have built my city a bit different to plan for a larger dam. This is a beauty of these games. You learn more and more as you continue playing. Dams are very expensive to build, no surprises there, but we can afford this little puddle. It's just holding back water enough to reach the inlet for my aqueduct. Nothing fancy, but even this small setup looks really cool and felt amazing to build. Aqueducts and buildings can connect to the water tower or directly to an aqueduct itself. The only important part is to make sure you connect to a higher point than where you are trying to lead the water. Gravity says water flows downstream. There seems to be no limitations to where you can build aqueduct either. Through buildings, underground, everything works. The dam just keeps giving. We can control the spillway, raising and lowering the water levels in the reservoir. I'm really interested in this fluid system. It is super impressive. With larger maps, I see really large dams being possible, with sprawling water networks and cities encircling the dam with large fields adjacent to make sure we're making the best use out of the fertile lands from the shifted water table. Oh yeah, by the way, the water itself will actually fertilize the land around it as well. This fluid system is really cool and seems to tie into a lot of things on the map. Building houses is fun and all until they all burn down before they're even built. Let's end this on a good note. House fires and cold pools. The bath reservoir is used to supply water from the aqueduct to a cold pool. The people are insane. Any pool named cold pool will not get my ass anywhere close to it. Overall, this demo is showing off some pretty cool features. I'm very excited for the full release of the game. If you would like to take a look for yourself, I always keep links down in the description. Go have a look. Even in the demo you can build a large and sprawling city. Despite the limited tech tree, there's no limit to how much you can play or build rather than the size of the island being locked too small. So go ahead, take a look yourself. I hope I'll see you in the future. I enjoyed having you here. Until the next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you around summertime. Later.